That's I don't know why I have this here. What's the difference? I have two of them and I don't know which is what is what? No idea. I also move this one. I don't know what these are and what these are here. 8. Was that one uploaded? That just suddenly came over here for some reason? Yeah, there we go. I don't know. Oh, let's actually clear that up now, since I can. Gee, I like this picture. No. That's my 8. 30.5. The 30th of December, I guess that is. Since I tried to get all of my old episodes out within that time limit. 8. Yeah, this is okay, so this one is no, don't delete that one. We have a map for those ones. Phasmophobia, we got early. Let's go in there. This one. Right. Numero 85. So days. 7 days, number 85. What am I doing? I'm thinking about it, type somewhere else. Oh yeah, this one. Yep, I guess this one. Okay, we didn't speak here, so that can be deleted. I don't know how they moved here, and what are you? Okay, this is actually a video editing program. I'll keep that one. Okay. I did the last 2 videos upload. I know I have it here. Shut up. It's fine. Yeah, they are. Okay. Goody. Okay, I have 3 episodes ready for the upload. Let's check if he's here. If not, I'll find some stories online that I can read for kind of like a little story time with Rachel. I can find some non-copyrighted music to have in the background while I read. I'm trying to find little horror stories or something like that. Is it this one? Let's see, because now I have my OBS that's up, and since it's updated to the version that Aurelius has, it now displays for me the chat and my title and the game and anything like text-based, so which means I can have like 1 page less up at all times, which is gonna be fantastic. But I'm a little paranoid that I won't be able to see everything, or what. I don't know. I should be able to see everything. I can see chat. I've seen that chat works. Title works just fine. So I don't know. It's a little bit. I still open the page and I open it because like whenever I open my computer, I open Chrome. I get 1 page for Rails to stream up, so I can see if anything happens there. I get another page up, that's usually my stream if anything happens there, and sort of title change, or just because I'm gonna go live, so there's no reason not to really no reason not to put it up there. No, he's offline. Okay. Not radio. No, no. So like I quickly move one picture over there, I quickly move on things over there. I open up Steam so I can get the little thing here up so I can see when, if and when he goes live, if I can't hear it. I often get my OBS up because usually when I come back home I usually go live or something happens. So 2 of these, this one gone, this thing up, and usually the normal Steam as well because I have to select the games. And it takes a couple of seconds, but like I usually just go live straight away. I try to find these so I realize can read. And I could help him maybe. Okay. I rather searched for those. So I got so that I have now the new OBS. I also need some music. This is the where I go to for that one. No, copyrighted spooky music. That's what I'm looking for here. Okay. Sure. No. Well, I do like Mountain Dew though, so fine.
Den nye Fiat 500, 100% elektrisk.
Oh, my stomach is sore. How? Oh, is this the ads? Please don't. Okay. I don't know what this is. These are things that are movies. No. That's what I want to do. I don't like the page is white. I should also scope this out, like, myself. Oh no, it's so bright. Okay. Just gonna quickly read them. Let's check it here. Okay. 12 terrifying ghost stories you shouldn't read alone. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, is though not to get freaked out when you're alone and you hear something bump in the night or even hear a voice. The stories below will freak out, so it's best to read these with someone, preferably a friend and not a stranger you decided to creep up behind on the street. Excuse me. Just walking along the street and they creep up behind someone and start reading to them. Oh, I love this page already. Bring it on. I'm ready. Oh. Excuse me. It's super nice. I need to down the music for you guys though, because you can barely hear me over it. Okay. I think that should be... hair maybe should be okay. What else? Okay, I'm gonna put the mic closer to me as well, so I don't need to use my WSD. Get the mic real up close. Can turn up the music a little bit and turn this down there. That should be okay. The cell phone. A couple of months ago, my friend's cousin, single mother, bought a new cell phone. After a long day of work, she came home, placed her phone on the counter, and went to watch TV. Her son came to her and asked if he could play with her new phone. She told him not to call anyone or mess with the text messages, and he agreed. At around 12:20, She was drowsy, so she decided to tuck her son in and go to bed. She walked his room and saw that he wasn't there. She then ran over to her room to find him sleeping on her bed with the phone in his hand. Relieved, she picked her phone back up from his hand to inspect it. Browsing through it, she noticed only minor changes such as new background, banner, etc. But then she opened up her saved pictures. She began deleting the pictures he had taken, until only one new picture remained. When she first saw it, she was in disbelief. It was her son sleeping on the bed, but the picture was taken by someone else above him, and it showed the left half of an elderly woman's face. Not really that spooky. I'm used to a lot of different stuff, but okay. I've heard stories-ish like that before. Oh, I tried to read the text on my right screen, but it's possible. Okay. Ghost Bro. My house was built in 1904. It is a single-family home, wood frame settings on a concrete block foundation. I have been living here for about 12 years. Of all the weird things that my siblings and me have seen and heard in this house, this one event is my favorite. This happened to my brother about 10 years ago. My brother and his best friend had started a garage band playing mostly Spanish rock, alternative music, but in Spanish. His friend could only get together on Sunday afternoons. They'd practice into the early evening, and they would usually call it quits by 8 p.m. This was the time I usually showed up and went to bed because I worked the graveyard shift. This happened in late fall, so the days were getting shorter. They had just finished a long session when they decided to head to someone else's house. No. This finished a long session when the decision to head to someone else's house came about. My brother handed his car keys to his buddies so they could load up the equipment. Everyone had filled out of the basement, but the tricky part that they needed to walk all the way to the back of the basement, up the back stairs, through the kitchen doorway, down the hall, into the living room, and out into the front porch. Everyone was outside, singing in my brother's truck, waiting for him. My brother was walking up the back stairs when he remembered he had left his pancakes in a to-go container sitting on a speaker in the basement. He made the decision to go back. Now the basement is not clean. With full sight lines. There had been... What? Patreons made? And the boiler and the main heater unit are right smack in the middle. So after my brother walks back, he's about to retrieve his food container when out of the corner of his eyes he sees it. It's a shadowy figure right at his peripheral vision. This feeling of dread and uneasiness washed over my brother. We had been taught that if you are in the presence of a spirit or ghost and you feel a bad vibe, to say quick prayer or to cuss at it. My brother chose the latter. He basically just told it, "Hey, fuck you. I don't have time for this shit." My brother started to walk to the back of the basement and briskly up the stairs, closing the doors and turning off lights as he walked out. The last light switches on the opposite side of the front door. Luckily, the door was open and the light from the street lamp was flooding the living room with its amber light. My brother said he felt something in his back. At his back. But at no point did he turn around. As he flickered the last switch, the living room went dark, as did the rest of the house. As he stepped out, he pulled on the door, closing it behind him. Still holding his food container in one hand, he jogged down the few porch steps. He walked towards the front gate. Out Our house residence far from the main street, essentially having a large front yard but no rear garage. As he closed the gap between himself and his friend loaded truck. Laden truck. He kind of smiled and thought things over in his head. Madden himself was spooking out when there was no reason. He climbed into the driver's side of the truck, putting on his seatbelt and getting ready to pull out from the parking spot directly in front of the house, when one of his friends asked, "Hey, wait. What about your brother? Isn't he coming with us?" My brother answered, "What do you mean?" "He went to work early tonight. He's already gone. Do you see his car anywhere?" The next question they asked, "So then, who was walking behind you when you were leaving the house?" I like this kind of story a little bit more. Maybe a little bit too much description of everything around, like this leads to that and this leads to that. Else than that, I like this one more better. The Rocking Horse. One night, when I was maybe 10 or 12, I had trouble falling asleep. My bedroom was the entire top floor of our house, with my bed and such being on the left side and the storage closet and play area being on the right. I was laying in bed when I heard a noise from the other side of the room and see a rocking horse begin to rock. I was sitting just outside one of the storage closet doors. It proceeded to rock its way halfway across the room and stopped dead underneath the ceiling light. At this point, I was freaked out and I just buried my hand under my blankets and never peeked out again until morning. It was all confirmed not to be a dream, as the rocking horse was still in the middle of my room when I woke up. Furthermore, I got a stern reprimand from my parents for being up and out of bed playing with my toys well past my bedtime. The bedroom was directly below the storage closet or play area, and had heard a creaking of the rocking horse shuffle across the room. This is just a little part of something bigger, I feel. The following. My older sister has a ghost that's following her. That's followed her around for years. I lived with her once for about 3 months, and so much weird stuff happened in that time. All my sister would say to me when I mentioned it was that her ghost didn't like me being there. Things like going to bed with everything locked up and switched off, and waking up in the morning with the back door open, lights on, and the kettle switched on. One night my sister and I were getting ready to go out, and I'd ask to borrow her liquid foundation. I used it and put it back where she kept her makeup. 10 minutes later, she's asking me for it, and it was nowhere to be seen. She accused me of taking it and made me buy her a new one, and refused to listen to my side of the story. About a year or so later, when she was packing up to move to a new place, she found the makeup in a shoebox with some old letters. The shoebox was in a zipped up suitcase that was underneath her bed. But probably the most scared I've ever felt was one afternoon when I was the only one in her house, which never happens, as 4 other people live there. I had arrived home from work and headed straight for the bathroom. All the doors, the windows, etc. were closed, and I was standing in the bathroom and started squeezing a pimple on my chin when a female voice in the hall said, "Stop picking your zits!" It was loud enough and sounded real enough, and at that time I thought it was my sister's, so I laughed and told her, "Fuck you, fuck off," and asked what she was doing for dinner. No answer. I stuck my head out into the hall. No one there. I searched the house, top to bottom. There was no one home. I sat out in the front porch until someone else got home because I didn't want to be there alone. That's the good thing with the ghosts I have here. They are not that type of confrontational. I would say. Annie96 typing. This is a really short one. This is much more of an interactive experience than anything else on the list. As you read through this concession here. Oh. Oh, okay. You asleep? No. I guess you're not either. Music is so loud for me. Hold on. I can't. It's the wind. It sounds like cats fighting. What's your excuse? Studying. So... that's what they call porn now? Annie, what the fuck? No, not denying it. I still can't believe that what Johnny did today. Me neither. That boy has issues. What the fuck? WTF? The wind is so loud. That doesn't sound normal. Lol. No wind over here. Just rain. Fuck you. I need my beauty sleep. Dang right you do. What? You mean I look? Shit. I think I heard footsteps on the ground outside. Get your crazy dad to check it out. I'm home alone. The fam are on holiday, remember? I told you this. Really? Go on. We should hang out. They really sound like footsteps, but there's something odd about them. I should look out the window, but my bed is so warm. Sure, you want to look out the window when you're alone? What if there really is someone there in the garden? Looking up at you? Not funny, David. No, chill. I'm sure it's nothing. This is a guy. I'm gonna check. Where are we? If there's something strange in your neighborhood, who are you gonna call? Nah. David, there's someone in the garden. What, really? Yes. I can see a man's back. What's he doing? Nah. I don't think that's supposed to happen. I think it's so much better. He's looking for something? On his hands and knees in the bushes. Well, he must be high. Probably looking for his drugs. David, this is serious. What should I do? Nothing? He'll probably go away by himself. Call the police, goddammit. Oh my god, now he's digging with his bare hands. He's ruining the garden. Shit, he turns around. What does he look like? That's not freaking annoying. David, WTF, this isn't funny. What? How are you doing that? What are you talking about? I can see that it's you. In my garden. How are you riding here without touching your phone? Look up. Up by the window. Can't you hear me banging on it? Oh, girl. No. Now you're scaring me too. I'm definitely not in your garden. That's not me. Stop playing around. I can see your face and you're wearing that stupid football jacket you're so proud of. It must be someone who looks like me. Honestly, I'm home. I wouldn't play around like that. It has to be a friend of yours, David. Playing a sick prank. How else would you be wearing your jacket? Well, if you didn't make that jacket, it's probably more of them out there in the world. Yeah. There are loads of jackets like that. My friend don't look anything like me. You just have me on your mind. He's digging again. Fuck, leave already. Do you have a gun in your house? Don't be stupid, David. I couldn't shoot anyone. You don't have to use it, just show that you're caring. Doesn't that jacket have a name on the back? Have your name on the back? Yeah, the team all got one with their name on. I can see your fucking name! What? What the hell is this, David? There are more Davids out there. And that jacket is in my closet. Buck, he sees me. Why is he smiling like that? He's coming. Call the cops! Annie? Annie, pick up. I've called the cops. I've told them there's a break-in attempt at your place. They say there's on their way, but it'll take about half an hour. That's a long time. Annie, are you there? It's in the house. Can't talk. I have to be quiet. Lights off. I'm in a closet with a knife. Hard to type, shaking so much. Fuck, I can't hang in there, Annie. The police will be there in 20 minutes. Do you know where he is? It. Not he. The look it had when it saw me, David. No person could look that way. Look like that. Jesus Christ. Does it know where you are? No. I grabbed the knife when I saw it running towards the house, and I got in the closet when I heard it breaking in. Okay, good. You'll be fine. Jerky doesn't have the brains to find someone hiding in the closet. The police will be there soon. Oh God, it's calling out to me. It doesn't sound like you, It doesn't sound like you, David. Its voice is so deep. I'm feeling the house. Feeling my head. What is it saying? Come out, Annie. I just want to look at you. He keeps repeating that over and over. Have I gone mad, David? Is this what it feels like? Just 10 more minutes, Annie. Keep it together. You're so strong. You will get through this. It's coming up the stairs, but so slowly. Irregular steps. Why does it look like you, David? Why you? I don't know, Annie. Please believe me. Can you make it stop? Please make it stop. I would if I could. I promise you. The door broke open perfectly. It's at the end of the hall. David, I didn't say anything to my parents when they left. I was listening to music. Is that the last time I see them? Annie. This has something to do with you, David. Only you can make it stop. Think fast. I don't know, Annie. God, please. Please. It might be because I think about you so much. I think about you all the time. So stop. I don't know how. It's scraping somewhere on the wall. It's getting closer. Please, David. I'm trying so hard. It's slowing down. Try harder. Whatever you're doing, it's working. It stopped. I can't hear anything. That might actually be worse. Really? Don't count yet. Stick put until the police gets here. Gets there, not here. What should I tell him if he's gone? Everything, Annie! Everything you told me! I didn't know you felt that way about me, David. I'm so glad it stopped. Can you come over in the morning, David? I really need to see you. I don't think that's a good idea. Of course, Annie. I'll be there. Great. I can't wait. Annie. Annie. How do I know this is you? Huh? This is kind of cool. Except he really didn't... He didn't start to suspect things before, like, here. Because this would be a weird thing to say. Like, even I said, like, that's a bad idea. Fascinating. I really like these messages. I actually did read a lot of them before. So this wasn't destroyed. But I really like those sorts of things. Because you're kind of caught up in the moment. It's the thing that's happening then and there, I think. That's the thing that I really like about this. A lot of these other ones are like, okay, I'm gonna tell you about the story that happened, but like, this is really happening. That's the difference between those two things. The Whispers. This is a story I do not often tell, I promise. I promise sincerely that this has scarred me for my life, and although I have looked into psychological explanations for what I've heard and natural explanations for what occurred, they remain unsatisfactory. When I was a child, I was scared of the dark. I swore to my mother I heard voices in it. They were not evil, but they were not familiar, and so they scared me. It was not uncommon in the middle of the night for me to wake up and hear whispers, as would call them when asking my mom. She figured they were just bumps in the night, and typical kids' nightmare material. But I'd often to explain to her that it was more than that. They sounded different from one another the way people's voices do. On some nights I would get so scared from these whispers and that I would sleep in my mother's bed with her. It was an added bonus that the bathroom was directly outside of her bathroom door for my nightlight tinkles. Late night tinkles. I can't read. I should add at this point that when walking out into the hall to go to the bathroom, you look directly down the stairs that would lead you to my living room on the first floor, as my mom's bedroom was on the second floor. On one such night, around Christmas, I woke and felt the need to relieve myself. I walked out from the door and distinctly heard the phrase, "Look!" And to my astonishment, a red light, almost like a spotlight, was cast upon the wall at the very bottom of the stairs. Light had no other source. It was by itself, and I was transfixed by it. Being a little kid and it only being a few days for Christmas, I knew what the light was. It was Santa! How else could he get into my house to know I was being a good boy? Oh, this is a male. I was so excited I began walking down the stairs to greet him, picking up my pace after a second step as he began to creep off the walls and fade into the darkness in my living room. The only reason why I care about gender here is because I try to deepen my voice when it's males and try to heighten it up if it's female. Not like, oh, a boy sleeping with his mother in the night. Nah, that doesn't make care. That doesn't bother me. I just want to get voice acting correctly. And they didn't give me gender. And that's when I heard him. A very strong, masculine voice. Different from the first. Not at all like my father's. Not to say he was masculine. It was just distinctly different. It said, "Stop right now. Go back up those stairs." I listened, turned around, and what happened next? I'm not sure I would believe someone had told me the same story. After reaching the top of the stairs, I heard a very loud crash. It sent me running back to my mother's bed, where I jumped straight under the covers and stayed there the whole night. When we awoke the next morning, the little Christmas flower light that glowed red, light that my mother had put on the railing down the stairs, were pulled straight down from the bottom of the stairs. Some broken from what seems like a forceful tear, laying in a single pile. The dry sink in my living room. Sink? What? dry sink in my living room had fallen from the wall. My mother could not explain it. My father was worried he had been the victim of a home invasion. My sister was crying. There was nothing missing. Nobody had broken in. There did not seem to be any reason that had happened. This had happened. And then I saw it, and I kept quiet about it because I was afraid that it could not. I was so afraid that I could not force words out of my mouth. There, on the edge of the wooden dry sink, which had been facing up, there was 3 indentations where the finish on the wood had been worn, almost as if a forceful grip. Something down there had grabbed it and thrown it down. That was what the bang was. I was mortified. After that day I never heard a single voice again. I do not like to imagine that was what was waiting downstairs for me that night. If it was anything at all. But I can tell you that there really was. That something had physically acted up 2 things in my house near the bottom of the stairwell. After this, I have never heard another whisper again, which is sad because in some ways I would like to thank the man, masculine energy, that have stopped me from going down those stairs. This happened when I was 7. I'm 20 years old now, and because of this incident, I'm still afraid of the dark, especially shadowy down stairwells. I am also scared of the dark, so I kind of feel as sitting a little home in that sense. Although I'm in the basement, and I don't really have. I don't know. It's so weird when I have nightmares now. Before, when I was younger, I also went to my parents' bedroom and slept in between my mom and my dad. But I never had a nightlight or anything like that. I had like a mirror underneath my desk before, because I was tiny, so I could see in that mirror, and it was like a contortion mirror. Like the image you see is kind of like messed up, it's bulky and whatnot. And when I was laying in bed, I could see the mirror, and that freaked me out so bad. I had to get it down again like the day after. So that didn't hang on. I'm also now actually starting to get a little bit paranoid. I'm looking over to my door, afraid of seeing something. Oh. The story before, like I said, the one I liked, that was long. With the person like... No, what was it? Someone smiling. No, that was the phone one. The messages one. Like the creepy smile. I hate that so much. And I don't know what I keep... Oh. Okay. My mind keep thinking of like a masculine form. Kind of similar to my dad. With this creepy smile, just wide open eyes, teeth grinning. And I'm gonna plug out an earbud so I can actually hear the world around me. Scary stories have never really gotten to me before, but I don't know. The freaky smiles is one thing that I just really can't handle that well. Yeah, there's a lot of ads down here. Okay. Let's continue on, I guess. Ugh. Getting chills. It's fine. It's fine. My grandfather told me this story about how one time he was sitting in a chair in front of the house when he heard his wife repeatedly calling him from inside the house. The thing is, my grandmother passed away a few years before that, but he told me that the voice was so pressing that he actually got up to look inside the house. And as soon as he got inside, he heard a loud crash behind him and turned around to see that his chair he has been sitting in moments ago had been crushed by the cast iron gutter that fell on it. If he hadn't come inside the house, he would have probably been seriously injured. And I don't know if it's paranormal or not, but every time I think about it, it sends chills down my spine. That's a little sweet one, though. That is probably the grandmother still staying behind in a sort of plane in between different worlds. I don't know too much about the stuff, but I do believe in ghosts and all of this stuff. And a lot of different things. I believe there are a lot of different energies out there that could either be good or bad. And different people and different reactions from them to those different things. So I believe that, for example, in this instance, it was the actual grandmother calling out to him to save him because she knew something bad was going to happen. It's a nice little sweet one. I wouldn't say it called chills down my spine, because then you know for sure you have someone out there that's looking out for you. The crib shadow. I was babysitting a niece once while I was staying at my brother's place, and they had the baby camera set up so I could see her on the little TV it came with. And I was studying and started dozing off when I heard some whispering and realized it was coming from the monitor. I initially thought it was some feedback or something, but when I looked at the TV, there was a dark shadow near my niece's crib. I've never been more terrified in my life. This shadow was clearly there where it had been not but before. I ran to my niece's room and looked around and saw nothing. But I took her the hell out of there. I went back to the TV and the shadow was clearly gone. I told my brother what happened and he pulled me aside and told me not to mention it to my sister-in-law because she'll freak out. But that he had seen the same thing several times now, with the same whispering. Then you get the hell out of that place. That's what I'm gonna say. They stayed in that house for about 4 more years. Why? And when my niece was just learning to talk, she would tell her mom about her special friend. To this day, it scares the shit out of me. When I moved out, my brother told me my niece had become inconsolably sad because she would miss her friend. Her mom would tell her she could bring him along, but all she would say was that he couldn't leave the house. They'd never, to this day, told her about that damn shadow, but she apparently never saw it. Yeah, no, if you see that, call some specialists. Get that thing out of there. Don't let it watch over your little kid. Really? Really? What? Excuse me? Some parents. Oh my god. Okay, I don't care how little amount of money you have. You move if that happens. I'm just telling you. The shadow. I didn't know that's what it was called until much later. I was living in a house on the Langua Beach that had been there since the 1920s. In its history, it had been a brothel and a house for smuggling illegal immigrants. One day, my new wife and I were having an argument. I can't even recall what it was about. She walked down the block to get a cup of coffee and cool off, and I was alone in the house. The way the place was built was incredibly haphazard. There was a bedroom, a living room on the side, and a bathroom with 2 entrances. On the other side of the bathroom, there was a hallway that had windows on one side and 2 bedrooms on the other. From my bedroom, I could look across the hall into the bathroom. Then through the bathroom and down the other hall, I was standing at my dresser, and I just noticed movement out of the corner of my eye. And I looked down there. It was an honest to God. This gives me goosebumps just typing it. 17 years later, a black figure. It was maybe 3 feet tall and was only vaguely humanoid. It looked like black scribbles. Like someone had scribbled a human shape, but the scribbles moved like electricity arching. I thought that's the best way of describing it. There was no sound that I could remember. I distinctly remember when I saw it, I wasn't afraid, just like, WTF? Then it noticed me looking at it. I can't say it turned around, it just focused on me, I guess. Then I was scared. I didn't move, I didn't scream, nothing. I just froze because it just fucked me up. I rushed down the hall towards me. I have no idea what it intended, but as soon as it entered the bathroom, the door closed to. But as soon as it entered the bathroom, the door closed to me. The door closest to me just slammed shut on it. I screamed. I yelled for my wife. She wasn't home. I went the fuck outside into the daylight and didn't go back until she came home about 10 minutes later. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe I saw something supernatural, but I know I saw something. I don't know what it was. That's one of the more fun things, I think, when people who don't believe actually get something to believe in. You could call it at least. The princess. How did the princess take control over a message board if only for a few seconds? It didn't make any sense. Our message board wasn't a video game. This message board pulled all its information from the internet. The princess was already inhabiting a game at the same time. All the rules we thought we knew, all the things we thought that kept us safe had failed us. Could she have done this at any time? Could she do it again? Where are the real limits to what she was capable of? We looked through all the data we collected. We tried to find some common threads we'd been missing. There must have been some way we could have known. There had to be more answers than there was that we were seeing. And it was. We finally realized the truth. It was so obvious. The princess has been in our message boards the whole time. She was on every page. She was in every forum list. She's been staring at us, watching us for years, and we never even saw it. She was the banner at the top of the forums. She was every screenshot we've ever posted, every video we've uploaded, and every piece of fan art we've drawn. Every image of her where when observed, gives her power. She's not a ghost, she's not a computer virus, she's an idea. Living fiction. She lives in our observation and thoughts of her. When we all watched the stream and bonded together and gave her all of our attention all at once, we made her more powerful than she had ever been before. We made her strong enough to manifest through the images we'd posted on our message boards and speaking directly to us. We looked down at the images. From what we speculated, it's enough to simply never look at them again. But we deleted them all just to be certain. However, it may already be too late. I've been losing contact with the other members of this society. I can't tell if something's happening to them or if they're simply gone into hiding. But at this point, only a fool wouldn't consider the worst case scenario. I'm not completely heartless. I know she's fighting for survival now. For her, being forgotten is death. She does what she does in hopes of keeping her memory alive. To that end, perhaps me telling the story to the world is a small act of mercy. Maybe the thought I've let her will ease her Maybe the thoughts I've lent her will ease her pain somewhat. I don't know, but either way, this isn't why I wrote all this. Well, told you it could put you in great danger, but it could also save your life. You are a target now, and in the months and years ahead, she may well come for you. But I've also given you all the knowledge you need to keep yourself safe. Do not try to fight her. Do not try to talk to her. Do not try and outsmart or trap her. Don't investigate. Don't try to understand. Don't try to be a hero. And don't try to be her savior. It is my sincere hope that I've given you all the answers you want, so we won't make our mistake and try to investigate further. There is one and only one thing you need to do to be safe. If you see her, turn off the game. I want to know what game this is. That could be really interesting. My friend, I have mixed feelings about this. Because this is like, tricked you. I like it when it at least like gives me a little warning at the beginning. Like, oh, if you read this, you might get haunted. And I was like, haha, fuck you, you read it. You're screwed. A little in your face. My friend took this picture of his cousin in the new house. He say it was just the two of them, but that's not what it looks like. Ew. Oh, go away. Let's clear this. Whoa. I don't like that. No, close that one. That's freaky. Hey, that's also freaky. Oh, my eyes are tired. It's a white page. Just bear with me. Satellite images. A friend of mine showed me how to use Google Maps. I'm sure you've seen it. It lets you use satellite images to look at locations all over the world. A few years ago, I was in a car accident. Since then, I really don't leave the house that often. It's difficult, and the idea of seeing a car drive by me makes me feel lightheaded. I was fascinated by the fact that I could see all over the world, almost like being there. I could visually walk down the streets, and I almost felt like I was really there. You need some VR there, girl. Or guy. Dude. My friend. My friend. I became instantly hooked. It gave me a real eye on the world. I could go to almost any major city, and I did. I'd seen streets in China, Japan, Germany, and England, so many places. I'd even gone to tourist attractions like the Great Barrier Reef and Dracula's Castle. My favorite was to go to a random place in a major city and see how many people and animals I could find. The faces of the people were always blurred to protect their privacy, but it was still enjoyable to see them out there, enjoying their life, walking like it was no big deal. She must have good taste, I laughed. I zoomed in closer and noticed the grey bag she carried on a grey and purple shoulder strap. She was walking in a relaxed manner. Her on one hand trailing the wall beside her. I bet if I could have seen her face, I would have seen that she was smiling. I began to feel a little sad. I let my hands fall onto the arms of my wheelchair and looked at her for a minute more. I wish that I could be there, walking so carefree with her. That wouldn't happen though, until I died. I was stuck in this chair. I sighed and zoomed out of Tokyo. Enough of this for tonight. I turned off the computer and went to bed. I got up early and decided to look around Paris. Paris was always fun. I liked the look of the city, with all the old, beautiful buildings and so many people to watch. I randomly zoomed to an area and saw a street lined with old brick buildings. A few small shops and an old tan brick church. Ahead was an intersection, and dozens of people walked by. A balding businessman walked quickly past, looking back at an old woman, hair covered with a scarf, carrying a large purse. A covered woman in black pants that were too high stared into a store window, and two women led a group of small children around a corner. I spun the view around a few more times, and then I saw something peculiar. Sitting on the bench at a bus stop were two people. One of them was a young woman with her feet stuck in front of her in a relaxed manner. She was wearing a pair of red sneakers, like my own. I was startled for a moment as I noticed the black pants, the white t-shirt, and black hooded jacket. Her dark brown hair was tied loosely behind her head. A grey bag sat on the bench beside her, and the shoulder strap hooked over her shoulder. But it's just crazy, I thought. It can't possibly be the same woman. This is a different country, different continent even. How could this be her? This was stupid. It wasn't as if there were living photographs. They were taken ahead of time and stored. It's not like she was in two places at once. She could just be a traveler. Besides, without seeing her face, it was impossible to tell that it was the same person. Brown hair was probably the most common hair color in the world. Those red sneakers were something I purchased online. I'm sure a million other people did too. I shook my head and went to fix some lunch. When I got back online, I decided to look at Berlin. I picked a random street as usual. It looked pretty empty. There were brick buildings lining the streets, looking more like factories than anything else. There were also empty lots full of long grass and piled gravel. There wasn't much to see at all, really. There was a line of motorbikes and a car with two German flags sticking up from it. After more searching, I found one kid who looked like he had dressed for school, a jacket torn over his bag, thrown. He was intently looking at some kind of mobile device. I was disappointed. I started to leave, but then I caught something out of the corner of my eye. I turned the view, and there they were. Those damn sneakers. She was standing on a street corner next to some kind of signpost. She had a hand on the post, looking down the street, as if waiting to cross the street. I stared in shock. How could she be there too? Even if she wasn't traveling there, no way I would find her every time. Even finding her in Paris would have been one heck of a coincidence. But this is crazy. Was this some kind of a joke? Had Google decided to play a prank on its users that used their product this much? It would have been a great joke. I did a quick search, looking for a note about a woman that shows up like Waldo. There was nothing. I looked through articles on strange things you can see on Google Maps, but none of them mentioned the woman that traveled the world with you. This was crazy. Had my self-imposed isolation driven me mad? Had I become so lonely I created a hallucination of myself? Leaving the Berlin image on my screen, I sent a text message to a friend asking him to look at the location. I asked him if he saw the same woman, and I waited, hands sweating, heart thumping in my chest. I jumped on my phone and bleeped with a return text message 10 minutes later. I read the text. I said, "The lady you're talking about in Berlin, I didn't see her in Paris or Tokyo. Is this some kind of game? Or what? Are you okay?" I didn't respond. Instead, returning to the location in Tokyo and Paris, there she was. She was there, but it was different. She no longer sat at the bus stop bench in Paris. She was standing in front of it, looking at something in her bag. In Tokyo, she was blocks away, going down to pet a calico jet cat. I shivered. Who was she? What was happening? I switched to the map in Brussels. It was another city street. It was lined with old-looking buildings, with shops on the ground level. And what I guessed was apartments above. I quickly scanned the streets. Were empty. Other than a stocky woman in bright blue sweater. I did a second sweep. She wasn't there. I sighed in relief. I couldn't believe I was getting too worked up about this. It was nothing but a koniki. I stopped. My eyes froze on the screen. There's a building at a point of a fork in the road. With a black ironwood frame balcony. Shooting? From the second floor. I hadn't seen her, as I'd been looking at the sidewalks. There she stood, standing on the balcony, her head tilted in the direction of the camera, almost like she was clearly looking towards me. My breath caught in my throat. I switched to Sydney. She was leaning against the wall inside a doorway of a bright blue pharmacy building. London showed her getting ready to step onto a red double-decker bus. Her head turned to look over her shoulders. She was everywhere I looked. She stood on a brick sidewalk on a bridge in Venice. She was walking across a yellow barred crosswalk in Zurich and Hong Kong. She stood behind a wing-long bank and a McDonald's adjusting the strap on her bag. In each picture, she came closer and closer to looking directly at me with her blurred-out face. My heart felt like a terrified bird, slamming around inside my chest. I couldn't catch my breath. I wasn't sure what to do. I couldn't call the police. Should I send screenshots to Google? Yes. Yes, you should. You should live stream the whole thing, girl. Get some proof out there. Send it to someone. Seek help. And stop looking at Google Images. Or Google Maps. I clenched my fist tightly and closed my eyes. Who was she? Was she following me? Was I following her? I wish I could see the expression on her face. Now that she saw... No. That she saw when I looked back at her, back at me. Know what she saw when she looked back at me. I wanted to get out of the chair and run. Why is it that the only thing that made me feel free again was the thing that made me feel even more trapped? I had to know. I typed in the name of my town and zoomed into a random street. It was a couple of miles from my house. The gates to the city park were shown in the clarity of daylight, despite it being night here. There she was. There she was. She was only a few miles from my house, standing under the ironwork arch, and stated the name of the park. She looked directly at the camera, directly at me. I felt like I might throw up. She was near me. She was watching me. She was coming for me. What did she want? That's... Tobias? You okay? And this is when I put up my Twitch stream. Are you guys see me? No, it's not. You can't. Okay. Well, at least I hope it's still recording. Excuse me? OBS. Well, if this wasn't freaky enough, I'm still recording, so I guess I'll continue. My PC is having troubles. Anywho, I don't know. Twitch has been having difficulties. I guess it's that. Okay, let's continue on. Renewing. Okay. OBS, are you up and going again? It doesn't, and nothing's happening on my end, on my Twitch. There you go. Okay, I'm back. Good, goody. Okay, at least it tells me that's fantastic. Well, yeah, perfect time for everything to crash. Okay. This one. Oh, girl, no. Don't bring her closer to you. Bring her further away. Because apparently, what I think is the closer you take her, the closer she is to looking directly at you. That's why she's looking like different directions now and then. Good night. This is why I'm terrified of people stopping going. I want to close that goddamn door. I typed in the name of the apartment complex where I live. I could see the outside of the building. The parking... Oh, she's gonna be standing in your window, girl. The parking lot was full of cars, and there was a few blurred out children in the playground. I searched everywhere for her. She wasn't in the parking lot or on the sidewalk, not hiding between the buildings or standing in the playground. I even scanned each of the cars behind the bushes, and each of the blurred windows. She wasn't there. I curled tightly around myself and lay my head down on my desk. This place was safe. I didn't leave the apartment anyway. I would never use Google Maps again. I would never see her again. She could stay at the park for all I cared. I smiled to myself and I was surprised to find a tear spilling down my face. Slipping down my face. I'm safe, I said to myself in a whisper. It felt good to hear it out loud. I'm safe. As I said it, there was a knock on the door. A chill ran down my spine. I had a camera hooked to my computer that showed who was at the front door, which made it easier for me with my mobility issues. I slowly reached for the control to show myself who was outside, but my hand trembled furiously. As I touched the control, I realized my mistake. The last of Google's images that I've seen had only shown the outside of the building. Just the outside. I looked at the screen and I saw a woman in a white t-shirt, black pants, and a black hooded jacket, and carrying a grey bag with a purple and grey striped shoulder strap. Of course, there were those red sneakers. She looked directly at the camera, her face still a complete blur. As I tried to stifle a scream, she raised a hand and knocked loudly on my front door. I'm not surprised. Why did you bring her to your goddamn house? If you know she's wherever you look, don't goddamn bring her to you. Okay, you asked for that one, that's all I'm gonna say. And also, call the cops. And also call the landlord, actually. Call someone in your building and get them to get to your door and make them stay with you. And get them screenshots the pictures! You can send them. Get some proof. She'll probably be gone from the pictures, but just saying. Her friend could also find her though, at least in one location, so. It's also a really freaky thing. But like, this is also a little bit of stupidity mixed in. If I'm gonna pick the ones I like, I think the ones I liked the most of this one was the annie96 typing. I just really like that format. The princess, I don't know, I was a little confused at the beginning because they kind of threw you in the middle of everything without really explaining much, you could say. Rocking horse, just a little tiny. Like it's a little part of a bigger thing that could be really freaky. Ghost Bro. It's kind of fascinating, but a little bit too much not so useful information. The same with the guy that didn't the whisper. No, not the whispers. The whispers I kind of think is interesting as well. This is. I think this is a sweet one. I'm not that freaked out about that one. The only one who really got to me was the Annie96. Also, salad images I kind of think is cool. But okay, I'm gonna end this here. Since I've been talking for about an hour straight, my voice is starting to die out. And I need to wake up early in the morning. So yes, I'm going to end this here. So thank you everyone so much for watching. I'm not gonna close this because I'm gonna save the link so I can put it onto my thing. I looked over and got Death Note is displayed on my TV, but I only see the face of the actual doll. God damn it. Okay, well, yeah, this house is haunted. If I haven't mentioned that before, this is no, Siri, go away. Thank you. So yes, I'm gonna end this here. So thank you everyone so much for watching. I really like reading stories like this, and I think the only reason why I like horror stories and read those especially is that I in general like the genre with horror, and I feel like a lot of love things gets like a little sappy and I get a little bit jealous and everything like that. Which is why I usually go to horror, because that's, well, it has to be kind of action-packed for anything to be interesting at all. But yes, so I'm going to end this here. So thank you everyone so much for watching, and I'm gonna try and experiment a little bit more about this. Maybe find some other stories that I want to try and find some stories that I actually like and I can reread them for you. Not just go off of a random list I find online. Because the quality there might not be the best, but yeah. I still like doing this. So thank you everyone so much for watching, and I hope you guys all enjoyed this. And I hope I'll see you all in the next video. Bye everyone. Bye everybody.